If you're here, it is because you are a plant person, and I am also a plant person, so let's get plant nerdy and let's go through my plants. Plant that idea in your head. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm DIY Danie, your friendly neighborhood DIYer. Today's a bit of a different episode, only because I'm not genuinely DIYing anything, but I do know that you guys ask so many questions about my plants, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of dedicate an episode to all of my plant life before I move, because once you move plants to a new environment, things can happen and they can go through a lot of shock. So while they're looking at their prime and everybody is happy in their little spot, I figured now is a good time to go through this. I should preface that I'm not a plant expert. I have learned so much from my mom, from actual plant experts, because I just asked lots of questions. I kept going, but why? But why? But why does it do this? I feel like a kid most of the time. I am a person that knows a lot about my plants and nothing about every other plant that I don't own. So I am gonna teach you guys as much as I can about my plants, how I've kept them alive, best practices, and why they look so amazing all the time. I think it's because I tell them that I love them every day, like a crazy person. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Editor, roll the tape. Boop. So this is a pothos, or as some like to call it, the devil's ivy. I don't know why it gets called that. I mean, it's beautiful. Now this is pretty common, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen these plants around, and that is because they're very affordable and they are one of the easiest houseplants to take care of because they only require very low light environments, so they really can thrive anywhere. It's a wonderful plant. I actually own, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6.5 pothos plants. There are 4 pothos in my living room alone. This one in particular is quite nice. 2 in my bedroom and 1 in my office. They are the perfect viney plant. I actually have one that I've started to trail across the window, which I love. It's really cool and kind of trendy. Something I recently learned was that more variegated pothos, meaning pothos that have colors on their leaves, they prefer more well-lit areas versus ones with leaves that are all green. If they are put in a low light space, they lose their variegation. Well, who knew? Another cool fact about these guys is that they can grow really well in soil, or they grow really well in water. So, you know, you see those cool trendy people that like have all those little cups of like cool plants that have been rooted into the water. These kind of plants actually thrive in situations like that. In terms of its watering regime, I actually just water it once a week and that's it. On a scale of 1 to 5, and for houseplants, I would give this a solid 5. It is easy to maintain, easy to take care of, and can really be placed anywhere in your home. And super trendy. Like, look at this thing, it's so cool. Pothos. The next plant we're talking about is the monstera, deliciosa. Ooh, hi Boo Boo, you good? You just like being under your little monstera, don't ya? Cause you're a little monstera deliciosa, cause you're so deliciosa. This is one of the more new plants that I have in my house, and like I'm obsessed. It's the most beautiful plant ever. Like, look how robust it is. Oh my gosh. I've named him Carl. Hello, gorgeous. These little lovely plants are also known as the Swiss cheese plants because it gets its little holes like in Swiss cheese. Eventually these little holes are going to grow bigger, and then it's going to turn into where it splits there. So this will eventually split. So plants like this actually need a lot of light. They're better as statement pieces versus like putting them away in the corner where they can't get a lot of sunlight. Because this is a more recent purchase for me, I did a lot of research and I found out a lot of cool stuff about this guy. A monstera is native to tropical forests in Central America. So they can actually grow up trees and other plants in the rainforest. So they really benefit from support when they're inside, or they'll just start to fall over. So you need to add some kind of trellis or a pole, or in my case, I made a little moss totem for my piece to give it something to grab onto. And they will grow up it, which is really cool. I actually filmed myself when making that totem. I took a wood stake from the hardware store. They're like under $2. I've also picked picked up a coconut mat, some burlap string. So essentially what I did was I just stapled the coconut mat to the inside of the stick, rolled it up, and secured it to the stick by tying it in place. And then of course I did add a small piece on top, which gave it a complete look. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'd give it about a 4.5. I know that a lot of people tend to overlove monsteras, so you just need to look for the signs. If you see a lot of drooping, that probably means that it's not getting enough sunlight and it's not getting enough water. If you give it too much water, you'll start to see it turn yellow. So look for the signs, let your plant tell you when it needs something, and you and your plant will have a good relationship. I also think that Kenobi just likes hanging out under the monstera. Makes him feel super bougie. Right, Boo? You feel bougie? So this is the other monstera. This is the Monstera Addisoni. Essentially it's called the Swiss cheese vine plant. I keep these in my kitchen. I actually used an old gin bottle called The Botanist. I thought that was kind of cool and trendy. I actually propagated this from a little plant shop, which you're gonna be introduced to next week. So these guys are like the monstera, but they're actually quite small and they're a vine. So unlike the monstera where the holes will open up, these guys stay intact and they look like little Swiss cheese. It's kind of cool. It's a lot smaller, as you can see, but they can be very robust and they love to trail. So this becomes like a really good hanging plant. Or you can put it on a shelf where it can kind of cascade down. If like me, you see one of these and you want to propagate them, you do need to keep about 2 nodes. The nodes are always at the little areas that you see here that will go into the water because that's where the roots will start to come out. So it's really important that you keep nodes on there. And if you do propagate it, you want to use either a sharp knife or an X-Acto knife or some kind of like sharp scissors to make sure that you're splicing it properly and on an angle so that it can take new growth. That way you're not kind of like actually harming the plant, you're doing it a favor. But they were such beautiful plants and they're so trendy. They've made a big comeback on Instagram lately. I've always wanted one of these little monsteras, so I'm hoping that it really takes off, especially in the new place. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'm not necessarily sure. So I'm gonna probably give it a 3.5, only because it's very new to my life and I'm not necessarily sure how well it's going to keep, but they took to the water a lot faster and it is seeing new growth, especially on these little nodes here. So overall, like the care of it, especially in water, has been very low maintenance. I'll keep you updated. Guys, it's been like 2 days since I filmed me sitting down talking about these, and even in 2 days, these guys have just opened up so much. Oh my gosh, they're so good. How great is that? So this is actually my favorite plant in the house. I mean, I have lots of favorites. I actually don't know if I can pick, but this is definitely up there in top 3. This is a staghorn fern, or it's also been known as a elkhorn fern, mostly because of these guys. So on a staghorn, they actually have 2 types of leaves on them. These big green guys here, these are the fronds. So they're not actually called leaves, they're called fronds. Antler fronds, because they look like little antler horns. And then the second one is the shield. This is this like dark brown section that kind of grows underneath. It actually has a little shield that grows around it. So that's why it's called the shield, obviously. The fronds actually start out green, but then they eventually like turn brown and then they dry up. When I didn't know a lot about staghorns, when this turned brown, I was like, oh my God, it's dying, but this is a completely natural state. These kind of plants are really great for mounting on a board, or they like to be in planters like the way that I have it on the wall, but mostly its natural environment is on top of other trees. So that's why it really likes to be mounted onto a board. So a staghorn is actually something called an epiphyte. I hope I said that right, an epiphyte. It's an organism that grows on the surface of a plant and gets its moisture and nutrients from the air, rain, or water, or from debris accumulating around it. A lot of the times you can find these guys in stores. They'll come in pots, but eventually you will need to mount them to perform at its best. You know, you have to give it the conditions in which it likes to grow. These guys will really like to be watered using like a watering can. They actually like their prongs to be watered underneath or on top, and then also just on this middle area here. I've been meaning to put this on a board, I just haven't had time, and in the new place I definitely will. But for right now, what I do is I actually use a coffee filter on this guy, and about every 2 weeks I'll take the coffee filter off and I'll let it sit in a little tub like this of water for about 5 to 10 minutes. After it's happy, I'll pull it out, let it all drain, put a new coffee filter in there, and then I stick it back in this, which has been completely drained, and then I stick it in there. So it's a really low maintenance guy, but you do need to remember to give him that nice little soak every once in a while. Just give it a little bath, you know, and your staghorn will be very happy with you. So in terms of my scale of 1 to 5, I'd probably give this guy like a 4 of ease. I mean, I haven't had a lot of issue with him. I think I would love to do a full plant wall of these. That would be really rad. What do you think? Like a cool board that then can hold a bunch of these stags? I'm gonna do it. This guy is just out of control. So this is a philodendron, and I needed to stand up to show you because like even sitting down was quite challenging. She's in this beautiful pot. It's not too big, actually. There's a pot inside for drainage. So she lives in my art room because obviously I have the big tall shelves in the art room, so it has the ability to just trail down the side, which I absolutely love. I actually have 2 philodendrons in my house. I also have one in my office, and it has just thrived. So what's really great about the philodendron is that it will tell you exactly what it needs. So you just have to watch for the signs. It is the type of plant that will adapt to any situation in a home. So it is a very low maintenance plant, and it's really great for plant owners that are looking for something that is easy to care for and easy to continue to grow. And there's definitely a bunch of different types of philodendrons out there. This is a heart-shaped leaf philodendron. What I love about them is that they look like little heart shapes, and it's cute and dainty, right? I love it so much. In terms of sunlight, you need to set the plant in a location with bright, indirect sunlight. So you want to find a position near a window where the sun rays never actually touch the foliage. It is normal for older leaves to yellow. If this happens in several leaves at the same time, the plant may be getting too much light. It's like, if it turns yellow, it's not happy and it's not being mellow. It's going like, ah, move me, essentially. Between waterings, you do want to make sure that at least the top 2.5 inches does dry out before you decide to water it again. But I actually have never had an issue in terms of this. I just water him once a week, and this seems to do the trick. If you do overwater it, you'll notice that the leaves start to get a little droopy or they start to curve in. If that happens, you just kind of want to stop watering it and check for the signs, but normally it will recover quite quickly. These are great plants if you're looking for something low maintenance and you want nice viney plants. So when people ask me what type of plant should I get for my house, if I really like those kind of cool trendy vines, I always say a pothos or a philodendron. Both are easy to take care of, and that's what we want. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 5, I definitely put this one on the 5 scale as easy plants to take care of. Just don't put it in direct light and you should be able to maintain a philodendron, no problem. This little guy is called a Pilaya plant. It's also known as the friendship plant because it's super easy to propagate. It creates like little stems that you can pick out and then put it into like a little thing and then give it to your friend. You can see the little propagation guy right here. So I could technically pinch that and then put it into a little planter. This guy has also had some really fun names like the pancake plant, the UFO plant, which is my favorite, the leaves plant, the missionary plant. This is a plant that has become more popular in the last few years. Instagram made you famous, boo. These guys are really low maintenance plants. They do thrive the best though in the brightest space in your home. They like indirect sun, but it needs to be very bright. So he thrives well on this shelf, but like I couldn't move him anywhere else. He would not do well anywhere else in this house. It's gotta be sunny. These guys will grow towards the sun every 2 to 3 weeks. If you just rotate it, you'll start to notice that the little leaves will move around and stuff. So that's been a really fun little thing. I do move him a lot. So all these guys are gonna start to like move this way. It's kind of alien. My little UFO plant. Because it is considered a succulent, you really want to make sure that the soil does dry in between waterings. Double check on that to make sure that you don't overwater it because these guys drown really easily. They do not like soggy soil. I wasn't paying attention and I ended up watering him twice one week. He was not happy with me. He went really yellow and really droopy, and so I didn't water it for about like a month and a half, but it did stay okay. it survived, as you can see. You can also use like just a normal household fertilizer with these guys. If you notice it's starting to droop a little, these guys will thrive with some fertilizer. So I'll link you the one that I use. It actually made this guy just burst. Having the extra nutrients, especially in a house that is a lot more low light, definitely helps these guys thrive. On a scale of 1 to 5, I would probably give this like a 3.5 because these guys are prone to being overwatered a lot, so they become really easy to kill. So make sure you're checking the soil and you should be fine. You're gonna be just fine, Billy. You're gonna be just fine. Pilaya, fun, right? All right, my trendy friends, let's talk about our good friend, Mr. Fiddle Leaf Fig. A lot of people don't like people saying Fiddle Leaf Fig, but this is a Fiddle Leaf Fig, or as I like to call it, the Fickle Leaf Fig. They're temperamental, they don't like being moved, they like to be in one location for the rest of their life. They don't like drafts, they don't like soil that is too wet, they don't like soil that is too dry, they don't like too much sun but not enough sun, and they don't like dry air. Even me moving it to talk to you guys about this right now is probably not making it very happy. It's going like, why are you moving me? So you tell me, how's the fiddle leaf feeling for you? We've been on a journey together, but we have some common ground now and we seem to be doing okay, right? Right. Do you ever talk to your plants? I definitely do. How are you feeling, Fiddly? They're from the rainforest, so obviously they thrive in humid locations. So if you're a person that doesn't have air conditioning in the summer hours, your Fiddle Leaf Fig is probably at its happiest. But if you have air conditioning like me, it's probably going like, I'm cold. You're just a high maintenance lady. If your tree does look fatigued or if its leaves are browning, you can set a humidifier nearby or at least just try to mist it. The best thing you can do is start off by placing it in the best place in your home and then just leaving it there. These guys do not like drafts, so don't choose an area that's in direct line with a door that opens and closes a lot, because if it catches that draft, it's gonna be like, no. If you want your Fiddle Leaf Fig to thrive at its best, you definitely want to put it in the most indirect sunlight. So a very bright room that doesn't get extreme sunlight is the best it can possibly be. But like I said, once you've chosen your place for it, do not move it. They are creatures of habit. They flourish their best when you don't move them. So I don't know if I've made myself clear, but pick a spot and let it be. Water it once a week, but every time you water it, it's always good to again turn it so that the leaves grow up and out versus kind of directing itself towards the light. Twist, just don't move. So it likes to jam in the same spot, it just doesn't like to move. Weird, right? The other problem with a Fiddle Leaf Fig is that people tend to not give it proper drainage. And this goes for most plants, to be honest. I actually have rocks at the bottom of this planter. If I do water it, the water's gonna drain through and it's gonna sit in the rocks and it's not gonna sit in the plants. If it's in one of these guys, you can take it out and let it drain. Like I actually just watered this guy this morning, so he's doing quite happy. The worst thing you can do is let your plant, and this goes for any plant, sit in a pool of water. That is a no-no. That will cause you to get root rot. So if it doesn't have something for it to drain through, you want to put rocks at the bottom of it and then your plant on top. Just make sure you give your plant something to drain. So, Fiddle Leaf Fig. In terms of a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this plant a solid 2. It's tough. This is a really, really cool little plant. It is called, I never pronounce this right, Oxalis triangularis. Yes. Basically also known as the purple shamrock for its 3 little leaves. Ooh. Fun, right? I also think that they look like little butterflies. This is definitely one of my favorite plants. I just think it's so unique and cool, and my girl loves some purple. This kind of plant is something called photophilic. I hope I pronounced that right. What that means is that it reacts to light. So in the daytime, it opens up and has these like big, happy leaves, and then at nighttime it closes down, and then it kind of feels like it's going to sleep. But it does like very bright spaces, and you'll notice this guy likes to be turned because it will grow towards the light. So if you don't turn it, it tends to kind of like favor one side. So I just like give it a little turn every once in a while, and you'll notice that it starts to go back upwards. One cool fact about these plants is that they're commonly known as heirloom plants. They just last forever. So like your grandmother could have given it to your mom and your mom gives it to you. That's how long these plants last for. So they're really great house gifts. In terms of watering, I just give this guy like half a cup of water once a week and it is super happy. You do need to be careful though. These guys do develop a natural toxicity to protect it from foraging animals. This is a plant that likes to bite back. Not a great plant for cats. But in all, I think this is a great plant. So I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5. But if you keep these and you keep them thriving, it is a plant that will stay with you for your entire life. I think that's kind of nice, right? There you have it. I didn't actually walk you through all of my house plants. We would have been here forever. So I wanted to pick the ones that most excited me. And if you are interested in learning about those, I am gonna put a blog post up that talks about all of these plants. So if you guys have any questions about the plants that you saw in this one, you can ask them in the comment section below, or you can head over to my blog and ask questions there. Or maybe you have more information about the plants I talked about and you wanna share it with the community, share it down in the comment section below. That is why it is there. We want to share all this wonderful information so that we can all become better plant lovers, plant moms, plant dads, plant parents, to all of our little plant friends, because truly plants create the best environments. You guys should let me know which one was your favorite plant, or which house plants do you like keeping in your space. Stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, because next week I'm actually going into a plant shop to help a good friend with a little DIY decor. So stay tuned and I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.